Let's take you straight to our top story this evening. The stage is set for a new wave of structural reforms. Speaking exclusively to ET Now on the sidelines of his Tokyo roadshows, Finance Minister Arun Jaitley has said that the Modi government will overhaul the tax code and the company law in a bid to boost ease of doing business in India. He says that the centre will boost infra spending and do its bit to strengthen the banking system. The Finance Minister says Bharat will get its due in the coming years as the government shifts its focus to education and health sectors. The big takeaways from Jaitley's Japan roadshows is our big story tonight.
When the global environment is very adverse, to then maintain a 7.5% growth rate is extremely critical. Once the growth returns to the world, I think this 7.5% we have a reason to look forward to would enhance. I always believe when the going is good, everybody is at his best. But the testing times it's when the going is very challenging. And the last 2 years in an unhelpful global environment, a series of policy decisions which we've taken, some very critical areas of spending, I think have helped us to maintain this level of growth.
Sir, but I also want to point out to the fact that our numbers are pointing in two different directions. While at one side, we're looking at a weak IIP. There are times when we see core sector doing better. So the numbers are not in coherence with how we see the economy.
I think your analysis is correct. Our services sector, which is 60% or so of the Indian economy, is doing extremely well. Public investment in a lot of public investment areas then keeps the economy growing. Foreign direct investment is coming in. Manufacturing improving but still patchy. You have to keep your fingers crossed. Agriculture was extremely challenging, almost in a distressed situation in the last 2 years because of bad monsoon. And I think this year, as I look ahead, if the monsoons are what the Met Department predicts they would be, in addition to an increased urban demand, you will have rural demand.
Right.
And once there is rural demand, I think India's private sector also has something to look forward to, which obviously also means that manufacturing will grow because that has a spiral effect on it.
Right. While much has been done in the last 2 years, bankruptcy bill has been cleared in the last parliament session. Aadhaar has been given a nod by the parliament. But what is in the bucket list for the government going ahead in the next 3 years?
Well, I think I still have my hands full in terms of structural reforms that we require. And I've always said that as far as reforms are concerned, India will never have a finishing line. So you'll have to go on and on with the change situation. For instance, if I think loudly, I'm looking at the direct tax reforms to bring down the taxation rate.
Right.
I'm looking at an indirect tax reform, the GST, which is, I think, extremely critical. I'm looking at changing the Companies Act, where the bill is in before Parliament. I'm looking at a further investment in forestation through the Campa law. The bill is before Parliament. I'm looking at further strengthening the banks in addition to the bankruptcy code through the securitization and the DRT law amendments. Now, these are the legislative steps.
Right. But also help me understand at this point of time when we've seen many of the PSU banks, banks like SBI, banks like PNB, posting huge losses because of the change in norms.
Look at the balance sheets of these banks. PNB operationally has had a huge profit. SBI has had a good profit. It's the provisioning which makes it look like a loss. The NPA was always there. Whether you keep it below the carpet or you bring it to the balance sheet. Right. And I think a transparent balance sheet is the best way of doing business. And that's what the banks are today doing. Operationally, they are all making. The PNB, for instance, last year made a 12,000 crore operational profit, which is not a low level of profit itself. But because it had to provision for losses, for the NPAs, right, it declared a loss. So it is a balance sheet provisioning which has led to that situation.
So, as far as the recapitalization is concerned, we've
Well, I am very clear, the government will fully strengthen the banks and fully support the banks to the extent that it's needed.
Is there a figure that we are looking at?
Well, I have declared a figure in the budget, but I am willing to look at a higher figure also if it's necessary.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/ETNow.